So in this video, what we're going to do is going to talk about a real simple drill. This is a drill that you can take out into the golf course, or you can just practice with down the driving range. Now, the big problem that I see with most amateur golfers is ball striking. Most golfers tend to get sort of too flicky and too scoopy this way, and what we're trying to do is get the hands further forward, and getting the hands further forward helps us compress the golf ball. Now, the best way to visualize this is to use a tee. Now what you can see here is I've placed a tee in the ground. So if I'm the kind of golfer who gets a bit flicky and a bit scoopy, what would happen is I would either miss the tee entirely, or I'd be flicking the tee up into the air. And what we want to try and do with this drill is we want to do a very simple thing. We want to hammer that tee further in towards the ground. But most golfers get this wrong in terms of what they think they need to do to hammer it in towards the ground. The first thing that we need to do is we need to produce less loft. So we are trying to introduce as much shaft lean as we possibly can so that we can hammer that tee in towards the floor. The second thing that we need to do is shift the weight to the lead side. Shifting the weight to the lead side and having the hands further forward is going to help us give us that sensation of digging that tee down in towards the ground. So as I hit a couple of shots here, just on my flight scope, I've got 7-iron. I'm just going to hit a couple of little half swings, like so. So let me just make sure that's registering. So and then what that's going to do is it's just going to sort of hopefully show you guys what I'm kind of looking for in terms of when you get started with this. So hopefully you can hear the sound on the back of the ball. What we're going to be kind of trying to see from that is just the flight, so the trajectory. What we're looking for is a very low trajectory when we get started with, because again, it's either going to be a skill set or it's a good thing that we're trying to get to do is to lower your flight of irons. Now, as I'm doing this, I just hit one more little half a swing, like so. So I get set up, back, and like so. So you can hopefully hear the contact is quite crisp, the trajectory is very low, and it's producing a kind of result that we'd be looking for. So there's two aspects that are going into this. The first one, as I highlighted, is get more weight onto the lead side, and that's fine. The important thing when you start doing this and moving more to the lead side is you have to make sure your lower body always stays ahead of the upper body. So what you don't want to do is ever do this, because if you do this, that's just going to produce like a chop. And what you should have noticed is when I was hitting some of these shots, is it doesn't sound like the club is chopping. It's not, it's sweeping. And the reason why it's sweeping is because my lower body always stays ahead of my upper body, so it produces a tilt. So I'm shifting to the lead side, but my head stays still so I can produce an upward motion. That's the first thing that's really important to remember. The second thing is with the handle. So it's not a chopping down motion, it's more like a sweeping motion. So see, my hands are actually moving up, okay, as I go in towards this, because that's helping me de-loft it. So as I go hit another one here, you just listen to the sort of sound of the ground. See, it's only like I'm brushing the turf. Okay, so my hands are doing is my right hand in particular is applying a pressure to the side of the club, and as you see when I finish this shot, see where I end up here, this type of position. Okay, so my hands are really pushing that club through. So those are some of the key aspects. Now, the other benefit to this is if you were to literally practice with the tee, one, it will give you a bit of an awareness for the centre of the club face as well. But from the side-on perspective, the big problem for amateur golfers is they pull down on the handle and the club goes too steep. Now, if you get that feeling of trying to almost get the feeling that the handle is moving more up and to the right of the target, it helps the club come down more on plane. And what you can do with this type of exercise is you can advance it from just a low shot to almost like a low draw. The more you exaggerate the feeling of the handle going up and to the right, the more that you'll be able to get that draw bias, or that small draw bias of right to left on the golf ball. Now, you can work on that, and that's something that you can carry on doing, and you can exaggerate it and you can go further back. Obviously, if you start swinging further, the ball flight is going to higher, so it's going to start lifting up. Okay, but the general premise is going to stay exactly the same in terms of if you are sick to death of poor ball striking, place a tee down in the ground, practice those couple of key components that I've discussed out today. Look for a low flight, and then treat the low flight as something that you're just learning to do for those windy days or the occasions when you have hit the ball into the trees, and then you can take that skill set into your full game and your ball striking will be massively different. See you soon.